Washington will be sub 500, which means they won't go bowling. And you said that was a 4 out of 5 on the boldness scale. Why do you think that's going to happen, and why do you think it's bold?
Right. So I do think that Washington will most likely go 6-6, 7-5, but I think that this is a little bit bolder, saying that they will go 5-7, 4-8. Um, Really, they have a really tough schedule. There are teams on there. The teams I think that are better than them, outright better than them on the schedule, teams like Rutgers, Michigan, Iowa, Penn State, USC, Oregon, are all on their schedule. They Washington, a lot of turnover, especially at wide receiver, offensive lines, but specifically at tackle. Excuse me, defensive line, and a bit in the secondary. I think at quarterback they'll be fine with Will Rogers. I think that he is a lot more proven than people really see. But I doubt that this current Huskies team is going to be ready when they face just legitimately physically tougher teams. Teams like Iowa, Rutgers, frankly, Northwestern, who's also on their schedule, teams that are just physically tougher teams. So I think that they could have a hard time adjusting to the style of play. And I also think they have a legitimately tough schedule. And it is, in my opinion, a possibility that they will go 5-7, 4-8. Will they? This is why it's a bold prediction. So those are my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, Washington brought in a really good transfer portal class. 11th ranked in the country, 28 total commits, 7 4 stars. And they brought in Jonah Coleman, who I like, Arizona running back, Jordan Washington from Arizona as well, Jaden Wayne, a young defensive end from Miami. All of these players I'm mentioning, except for Coleman, are 4 stars. Ironically, Coleman's the most proven of all of them, and yet he isn't rated very highly. And they also brought in some good trench players as well. I think that Jedd Fisch is doing a good job with what he inherited. And what he inherited is a team that is only returning 2 starters. And I think 3 if you count Greedy Gross coming back at kicker, which is big. But they lose a ton. And their defense last year was good at best, had great moments, but really on average was just above average. At times was also mediocre. And the offense loses everything and every one that matters. They do. The
Right.
backups obviously have gotten good development by a great staff and Kalen DeBoer and what he did along with Ryan Grubb. But they do have a tough schedule. I think that games against Michigan and Penn State in particular will be tough. And then, like you mentioned, Rutgers, Iowa, even a team like Northwestern, and also Oregon, former conference foe and still conference foe just in the new Big Ten conference, Oregon, who's also a rival. And they will be out for blood because they're 0-3 against Washington under Dan Lanning, and I think that Lanning is going to take this opportunity to try and show Washington who's the true champion of the North. I don't think that this prediction is extremely bold, only because whether it's Michigan, Penn State, Oregon, and then you throw in Rutgers, Iowa, USC, Washington State returns a decent amount of production, and I know that they'll want to play Washington close. They still view Washington, obviously, as a big rival. And then there's Northwestern. I do see 5-7 certainly as a possibility, and Washington just loses a ton. I have a hard time seeing them go better than 7-5, honestly. But that is just my opinion. I don't think it's as bold as you say, but I agree with what you've said about how since they lose everyone, bring in a new staff, join a new conference, and have a tough schedule, those are all great reasons to
I
have Washington out.
I think it's just bold because everyone has just seen them in the national championship beating Texas in the playoff. it would just be like it took everyone in the first month of the season last year really by storm when TCU was so bad.
Yeah.
I just think that Washington's going to have something around that. And just people aren't really prepared to see Washington go. I mean, Washington has higher odds than teams like Nebraska to go to the college football playoff. I think I saw that. They have really high odds. It's anyway.
Yeah, no, that does make sense. And Washington last year was better than TCU in 2022, and I think there's a chance that this year's Washington is worse than last year's TCU. Last year's TCU at least returned a few starters and played in an easier conference, staying in the same conference. Washington loses more and they move to a tougher conference with a tougher schedule. That could really rock the boat there in Seattle. Thank you all so much for watching this clip of Touchdown Talk. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and comment your reaction down below. That way College Football with Sam can continue to grow and you can get the best experience out of college football content on YouTube. I would like to give a shout out to my Patreon members for sponsoring this channel and video. Thanks to Crash2488 and Braska Rascal for being Heisman members. Thanks to Chris Lane and Connor Little OH for being All-American members. And thanks to John Lynn, Roaming Gnome, Matthew Sale, Austin Christmas, and Janisha Cockrell for being all-conference members. Have a great day, everyone, and we will see you back soon. Bye-bye.